Okay, so I'd like to welcome you all again to our spoken and written word showcase, The Words of Strength. These stories were written by our community members at Gilda's Club Chicago, and they are inspired by their cancer experiences. All of these excerpts do have full version text to them. There is a link at the end of the presentation. You will all get a copy of this presentation so you can keep, and we will house a copy on our website. So you can always share it with family and friends, post it wherever you'd like, share it with others, and have a copy of it forever. I did want to start off with a really great quote that I found of Gilda Radner. I would suspect it was probably when she was writing her own book. And she said, "I wanted a perfect ending. Now I've learned the hard way that some poems don't rhyme and some stories don't have a clear beginning, middle, and end. Life is not about knowing, having to change, taking the moment and making the best of it without knowing what's going to happen next. Delicious ambiguity." And I think that is a really great quote that kind of sums up living in that gray area and, not really knowing what's going to happen next, but still making the most of today. Our first written entry was submitted by our resident author, Raymond Vladkowski. I do not think he is here yet. Raymond, if you're out there, please let me know. I don't see him on the list, so we're going to see if maybe he joins later. And that brings us to Tracy Asher. If you would like to take yourself off of mute, read your excerpt, and then you will have a little bit to maybe reflect, give a little insight for everyone.
Okay, well, thank you for this opportunity to tell my story about my cancer and what I've done with it over the last 7 years. So you just want me to read this little part here?
Yes, you can read this little part that we have here, and then you can elaborate a little more if you'd like and tell us more about yourself.
Okay, my cancer. When we see ourselves represented in art, we can find unity and courage, even during our deepest battles. Each cancer diagnosis creates its own story of which we are forced to become the author. While we may share a diagnosis and be united against this disease, ultimately we are each one cancer patient. So One Cancer Patient is a project that I started 7 years ago when I had my first diagnosis of breast cancer. That was in 2014. And then a couple years after that, it metastasized into my spine in my neck. And then about three years after that, it metastasized again in 2019 in my brain. So over the last 7 years, I have documented with photographs my entire 7 years of everything that goes on with a diagnosis, whether it's surgeries or scans or MRI, just day-to-day life, losing your hair, going for chemo, going for radiation. I've documented it all in photographs, and I'm currently, I've got it currently as an exhibit. It's been at a gallery in Chicago, and it's going to be at another gallery in Chicago in 2022. And I'm working towards getting it published because I really think that as I talk to other patients and thrivers, that the thing that typically scares everybody the most is the unknown. What is this going to look like? And what does this mean for me as a newly diagnosed person? What am I looking towards, and what's it going to feel like? What's it going to look like? So One Cancer Patient is the title of this project. And if you're interested in looking at it, it's at One Cancer Patient on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, and also on Flickr, where you can see a lot of the photos that I'm talking about. So that's pretty much my story. On the Zoom call somewhere is my dad, Warren Pearlstein, and he's also one of my photographers, the one that has pretty much shot the most. And it's been very interesting using my dad, who is a professional photographer, as my photographer to document my years-long journey with cancer. So he's here somewhere. So thanks, Dad.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Tracy. And thank you, Warren, for helping out with that really great project. You will have to let us know what galleries you'll be in 2022. Tracy also submitted a video as part of her submission, and I will include that for everybody to watch as well, because as I was watching it, it was really great to see some of the photos on that too. So everybody will get that information as well. Tracy, you'll have to come back for more events and keep us updated on your upcoming galleries.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The next one, well, I'll put it all over my, social media and stuff, but it's a place called the Trickster Gallery in Schaumburg in 2022, probably February-ish.
Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Our next submission, we have Miss Donna Joy Janowski. If you would like to read your excerpt and then maybe tell us a little bit about it.
Sorry about that. We are stronger together. While sitting in my husband's, no, this wasn't the part. I'm going to read the part that I wanted to read, because this is the wrong version.
Oh, sorry about that. I'll fix it.
That's
You
okay.
read the one you want.
After losing my husband, Richard, to a brain tumor in September of 2014, I found myself questioning my life. I felt so empty, and I knew in my heart that I needed help with dealing with my grief so that I could heal. I contacted the organizations I believed could help. They had support groups, but they were all in the suburbs. I lived in the city and was carless. After a great deal of frustration, Gilda's Club, which was founded by Gilda Ratner and her husband, Gene Wilder, came to mind, since I had met one of their volunteers a few months before Richard passed. When I called, a woman with a soft voice answered the phone and said, "Gilda's Club Chicago, how may I help you?" I responded, "I lost my husband to cancer about a month ago, and I'm looking for a support group." She asked me a few questions and then recommended that I join the Saturday Bereavement Support Group. I graciously accepted her offer and thanked her for her help. The conversation ended, and I hung up much relieved. This is part of a piece that I wrote for a course that I take at the Goodman Theater. It's from a program, Generations, where people 55 and older come together for 6 weeks to write pieces based on whatever the topic is. And this summer, after we saw In the Heights, the topic chosen was community. And what came to mind was the Gilda Club Chicago community. Because since joining that bereavement group for a year, I now have continued to participate in the yoga classes, and I also volunteer once we open again, once a month to greet people on Saturday who are coming to participate in some of the Gilda Club programs. And this community really made a difference because I felt really lost when I lost Richard. So I'm very grateful for Jasmine and all the other staff members, and I just love all the members.
Wonderful. Thank you, Donna. Thank you for sharing your story with us and including such a wonderful photo. I know everybody loves that photo when they see it, and it's really great. Thank you for sharing with us how you got involved with the Gilda's Club, and you've been with us for so long, and your involvement has evolved itself, and I'm glad to still have you around. So our next segment is a wonderful improv show by our improv troupe who created a video for us that we can watch together right now. So without further ado, I will play that. Let me know if the audio is a little weird, but I should be able to hear it too.
My name is Kat Boberg, and I have been working with Gilda's Club Improv since before lockdown, since we were in the yoga studio on the 4th floor, all the way through a year of being remote, and even before that. And I have never been in a group that's so creative, spontaneous, hilarious, and supportive as this one. And I wish I could share that with absolutely everyone, to come together and just play.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jay Suko, and I am the co-teacher of the improv class at Gilda's Club with Kat. And I'm just want to echo her sentiments. So very thankful that I get to be able to work with these folks once a week. We meet for an hour and we just laugh, and it's everything so very creative. And Kat and Ross Alexander also is a huge part of this, and it is the highlight of my week by far. And I am so honored to be a part of Gilda's Club in this way. We thought, what could we do as improvisers to add to this special night tonight? And so what we decided on is we would improvise a scene where each person will say 2 words at a time, and we will tell the story together. Now, the folks did not know how the story was going to end up, but it ended up just perfectly and beautifully. So what you're about to see right now is a completely improvised group story that these folks came together to tell about what Gilda's Club and Gilda's Club Improv means to them. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Gilda's Club
means to
everyone the
community feeling,
joyful accompaniment,
And wishful,
joyful laughter,
and worry less.
and also
hanging out
together happily,
with new
friendships together,
always fun.
Thank you to our improv group. I know a couple of people are here who attend our improv, and it is wonderful. I hear nothing but good things from improv, and it was a beloved program when we were in person. You can sit up on that 4th floor and just hear laughter and talking coming from the yoga studio. So hopefully one day we'll be back in person and be able to enjoy improv in person and do some work together again. So thank you to our improv team who is here currently joining us today, doubling as our writers and improv troupe. Our next speaker we have is Sarah Costello.
Hi, everyone. This is a piece that I wrote for McSweeney's Internet Tendency. As you can see, it's called Sorry I've Been So Weird During This Alligator Attack for McSweeney's, a satirical outlet. So, how are you? Oh, girl, it's okay. I asked. Okay, I can't let this alligator attack consume me. And sometimes I just get so tired of talking about it. Like, how many different ways can I say that I'm super bummed that my skin is getting shredded off and the darkness is closing in? Wow. There I go again, monopolizing the conversation. Oh, don't worry. It was just a death roll. It's actually how alligators kill their prey. Did you see the way that it clamped down and spun me around like a pig on a spit? It's actually trying to dismember and drown me at the same time. It's mortifying when it happens in front of people like this. I got death rolled while on a Zoom with my boss the other week. She had no idea what to say. I think I ruined her whole morning. Right now I'm working to handle being mauled by a thrashing 10-foot murder monster in a really healthy way. I've even been reading this great book called Grappling with Your Gator. It's such a good reminder that everyone gets eaten by an alligator eventually, and eventually everyone gets over it. So this is a piece that I actually, I was in a satire writing class, and I pitched this piece the day that my dad passed away from myelodysplastic syndrome. I shouldn't have gone to that workshop that day. I should have pretended that I was sick or something. But I remember sitting through the entire thing just kind of like catatonic, and for some weird reason thinking, if anyone looked at the Zoom right now, they wouldn't think that I'm the girl with the dead dad. Like, no one would think that. I'm acting totally normal. It's fine. But I guess those are just the weird things that you do within those first couple of days when everything changes like that. This piece has been incredible for me because I do comedy. That's what I love doing. And my goal is always to make people laugh, but also hopefully make them feel something, be able to relate to them in ways that I hadn't previously. And I've heard from people who have also gone through grief that very kindly this has brought them a lot of laughs and a lot of cathartic feelings at the same time. And my dad was always very proud of me, and I think still is, for all of my creative contributions. And I'm pretty sure he had a hand in this piece getting accepted. So I love it very much, and I appreciate you letting me share it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sarah. I hope I'll be as graceful the next time I'm attacked by an alligator. Those barrel rolls can be something crazy.
They get you, man. Just come out of nowhere.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for sharing that and opening up to us here at the group. We appreciate your submission. Our next person who we have up is Ingrid.
Okay. So, strength is like a quilt or a scrapbook. We are all made up. I'm sorry, something came on my screen. Strength is like a quilt or a scrapbook. We are all made up of scraps, colorful little bits and pieces that represent every moment, every look, every smile, every sorrow, every fall, every place and experience ever lived, every human that has crossed our paths with us, every life that has gone by and passed through touching ours, and that we have sewn in our quilted soul forever, our cornucopia of moments, that are not always pretty or happy, but that have made us who we are. The quilt or scrapbook, I owe that to our leader of our Wednesday meetings, the very sweet leader of our group, Sophie. She always talks about her arts and crafts, quilts, scrapbooks, and all the wonderful things she does. And that kind of got me thinking that we are all kind of made up of little scraps and little bits and pieces, but actually what I wrote about was about the interconnectedness that we have, and I wrote about what happened this whole year. And Gilda's Club was probably among the best things that happened to me this year, because I found a lot of joy in a year that was really difficult with everything that happened, not just what happened to me in the cancer journey. It was a hard year because of the pandemic, because of you know, the social inequities that everybody became aware of, the racial inequities, everything, the injustices that finally people started to talk about. Somehow discovering Gilda's Club, you know, it made me feel, if society as a whole looked a little bit as Gilda's Club looks, with all the kindness and the joy and the laughter, where everybody gets to be who they are without a lot of pressure, wouldn't society be just wonderful? And we are all so interconnected. We all really depend on everybody being kind and helpful, and on everyone's solidarity. And we don't get that in the outside world. And Gilda's Club is such a wonderful model of how the world should look like. So, and we all affect each other's lives so much. And for me, this has been a wonderful discovery, and everybody has impacted me tremendously in the most positive way. And I'm very grateful for that. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ingrid. Thank you for sharing your written work with us and sharing your words and your perspective with us. And I know you are new, although you might be new to Gilda's Club, you are definitely a member who gets involved, and you really make yourself known. I'm sure you're one of our new members, but everyone already knows Ingrid. We always welcome all of our new and veteran members. You have a membership for life when you are part of Gilda's Club.
Thank you.
Okay, our next submission is actually a video submission submitted by Jackson Nogal. I think I pronounced that correctly. It is a humorous monologue that was submitted titled "The Rain Delay." Jackson is here, so after the video, Jackson, if you'd like to give us a couple of words and reflections on it, you are welcome to.
Exactly 8 weeks after April 6, 2011, it was time to return to work. My Family Medical Leave Act Get Out of Job Free card had expired. I'd been recuperating from a surgery that my doctor described in the words of a 1990 skateboarder, a radical prostatectomy. Like way rad, brah. Ever since Dr. P had scoped cancer in my prostate bowl, dude had been stoked to go carving and grinding and to make an inside front grab of my gnarly baby daddy pump. For my first day back at work, I'd been invited to a work outing to see the Chicago Cubs play. It was a reward for all the crazy hours we'd all been putting in. Don't mind if I do, I'd replied. Only my boss knew where I had been for the past 8 weeks and of the call I had received when I was alone on the evening of Valentine's Day. It had reminded me of the Ben Franklin quote, "The only thing certain in life is death," and I couldn't remember the rest. When we got to Wrigley, the first thing I heard was, "Cold beer here." Now, I hadn't had even one drink since my prostate surgery, plus I had lost a little weight. The average prostate gland weighs about 11 grams. I was 2/100ths of a pound more likely to get wasted in front of my colleagues. But the beer man didn't cater to lightweights like me. He only sold tall boys, extra large cans of Budweiser. I threw caution to the wind. Don't mind if I do. After all, what could possibly go wrong getting liquored up at a work event? We watched the game with the umpires calling players safe and out. But pretty soon Mother Nature was calling this player out. I had to pee like a Clydesdale. I trotted to the communal trough that Wrigley Field calls a men's room. Just when I ponied up to it, I let out a tropical storm. Dude, most rewarding work outing ever. When you hire a urologist to extract your prostate, it's a bit like hiring a plumber to remodel both the bedroom and the bathroom. Only in this case, poor workmanship could lead to an untimely death. The work in the bedroom is fairly straightforward. Think of the prostate gland like a cocktail shaker. You take 1 part sperm, add some mixers, shake your money maker, and voila, sex on the beach. But after a radical shakerectomy, the bar is closed. But don't worry, Betties. We shakerectomy survivors can still party long and hard. Now, contractors tend to undersell the work needed in a bathroom. In my case, my prostate plumber had to not only remove my prostate gland, but also 2 stop valves that lay between my bladder and my downspout. And that added months to the project for potty retraining. Oh, not like a toddler. Think of it more like the weight room. Baby, I just pressed 100 kegels. Oh, and in addition to wearing jock straps, we also have to wear what marketers call male guards. Basically, male maxi pads. I call them bachelor pads, because if I'm getting hot and heavy with a sweetie, and she finds a guard down there, I'm gonna remain a bachelor. Meanwhile, back at Wrigley, cold beer here was talking around too. Don't mind if I do. But pretty soon my bladder was getting pissed off at me. Don't mind if I do too, he mocked. Cold beer there equals racehorse analogy here, get it? I did, and I galloped back to the trough, and on my way I felt a little pee squirt onto my guard. I'm taking heavy fire, he shouted. A few rounds shot past his post, creating collateral damage on my Levi's. What to do? While I was in the bathroom, I realized that quick thinking and a magic trick could save me from eternal shame. While I washed my hands, abracadabra, I flicked water all over my jeans. They need a new plumber in there, look at me, I could explain. When I got back to my seat, I had won the battle. But within minutes, the war raged on. No less than the king of beers was reigning over my Clydesdale pea raid. What to do? Now, I hadn't been particularly religious since Catholic school, but it was time to find my way back to the Lord, and fast. Sweet Jesus, I prayed, please give me strength, at least to my smaller, but still large, companion. Now, I prayed to Jesus and not God or the Holy Spirit, because I remember that he had real human experience with these matters. After all, his quick thinking and magic trick kept him dry by walking on top of the water. Within minutes, my prayers were answered. Raindrops started falling from the sky. God damn it, cried a red-blooded Cubs fan. Jesus, undamn it, cried this yellow-peeing self-respect fan. My prayers were answered again. It started deluging rain. My jeans got soaked. I no longer had to hold every drop in. I did have to maintain some control. In my experience, even a proverbial flood can only dilute so much pee. And I didn't want to give the ladies a taste of what the men's room smells like after 5 innings of cold beer here. We ran to El Jardín for shelter. The waiter touted their famous extra-large margaritas. No me importa si no lo hago, I thought as I ran for the changing of the guards. By the end of lunch, even my only replacement guard had become shell-shocked. It was time to deploy, or I would be the only rotten-smelling sardine on a rush-hour train packed to the gills. As I was leaving, I spotted Mindy, the most beautiful woman in the office. I had a secret crush on her. Jackson! She spotted me too. Her perfect smile beckoned me. Where did you travel on your sabbatical? I realized that I shouldn't share my story with her, and by extension, the fact that we would both die someday. That would deep six any chance I would ever have on asking her out. To hell and back! I kept walking. If only she knew.
That is a completely true story of my first day back at work after my prostate surgery. So I originally, I've been writing a memoir called War and Pee, and Gilda's Club had a couple sessions on writing stories for the stage, and I did that, and then I ended up doing it. Unfortunately, I was supposed to do it live and Zoom came, so I had to do it live over Zoom, but then a friend of mine taped it, and that was the genesis of this. So thanks for watching, and thanks for the comments.
Thank you, Jackson. That was hilarious. I think War and Pee is a wonderful title. Okay, I think we are ready to welcome our next presenter, Susan McMillan. Susan, I know you have your own version that you're going to read on paper in front of you, so feel free to read what you have.
I'll give a little intro so you understand a little bit about what's going on. We had just moved to Chicago when my 18-year-old daughter, Samara, had received the diagnosis of an epithelioid sarcoma, an extremely rare aggressive cancer on her left forearm. It was a challenging 1.5 years of surgeries and radiation treatments. She returned to Syracuse University, then spent a semester studying in Florence, and to this day is cancer-free. This is the first trip I took after Samara's cancer diagnosis. It was just what I needed after the long, scary year of keeping her alive. It was 1992. I was one of 4 crew members hired to sail a 38-foot sailboat from Calabash, North Carolina, and deliver it in February, 11 days later to Tortola in the British Virgin Islands. This is an excerpt from a sea voyage. It was written from a 2020, from a journal. We are tied to the ocean, and when we go back to the sea, whether it is to sail or to watch, we're going back from whence we came. John F. Kennedy. While on watch, I spot a small raft bobbling we're 300 miles out, about 1,000 feet from us, with 3 people standing and waving. They are obviously in distress. What are they doing out here? I excitedly call the skipper up on deck. I jump up and down and point excitedly to where I see them. He frowns, looks at me, and shakes his head. There's no one out there on a raft. You're hallucinating. It's the seasickness patch, the scopolamine. I squint and look again. but I can still see the people waving their arms. Embarrassment warms my cheeks, and I try to convince myself that no one is out there on a raft and the visions are due to the patch and sleep deprivation. Tonight, I sit here propped up in my bunk against the bulkhead writing. I look up through the hatch and see Austin, who's the first mate, in his hooded foul weather gear at the helm, holding on tight. He is silhouetted by the eerie green color of the sky. He disappears with the rhythmic rocking of the boat and reappears again through the hatch like one of those inflatable things that gets knocked over and pops back up again. It's surreal. This becomes a familiar scene as I sit in an attempt to read, write, or listen to tapes. It's always reassuring when I see him pop back into view again. It's peaceful, and Mother Nature seems to be giving us a rest from constantly demanding respect. I'm grateful for the solitude. I think this voyage gave me an opportunity, because it was about, I guess it was maybe a half a year later, to reflect on the previous years. It gave me the luxury of time to process and heal. And when I was diagnosed in May with non-invasive 0-stage breast cancer, it triggered all the raw feelings from Samara's cancer. I was fortunate. If there is such a thing as a cancer lottery, I think I won it. So I too feel so grateful of Gilda's Club. I mean, the yoga, everything. I haven't joined the group yet. I plan to do that. And I think, as Ingrid said, something about Gilda being a model for how the world should be. That was right on, Ingrid. I really appreciated that. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan, for sharing a little bit about your history and what inspired this writing. And speaking on very real topics like reoccurrence or the trauma of our own diagnoses going forward in our lives, and what things kind of trigger those experiences that we've had in the past. It is definitely something that a lot of people face going forward, and it really is part of our lives now. So thank you, Susan, for reading and sharing. Our next reader we have is Doris Zagul. Doris, I have both of your poems up. Did you have a preference on which one you wanted to read?
No, I guess I'll read the second one, Life.
Perfect.
I'm gonna read part of this one. Life is fragile as an egg. The slightest nudge and it will crack, taken from you in less than a breath. Magnolia blooms about to burst, fresh green buds on the honeysuckle, pale yellow gold daffodils bend in the breeze so delicate, but cut they shrivel up and die. Hints of spring quickly come and go. Pay attention, look around you. You don't want to miss it or dismiss it. Another year, another spring I didn't know I would see, but I am a survivor, alhamdulillah. I've been to the battlefield and Allah has saved me. So back in 2010, I had my cancer treatment, and I wrote the first poem, More Tomorrows, because I was wondering, if I was going to survive it or not, because I was stage 3 breast cancer and it was very aggressive. So a year later, I wrote this other poem after I had finished all my treatment by Thanksgiving of 2010.
Wonderful. Thank you, Doris, for sharing. And what a wonderful poem. The imagery is amazing. And like everyone said in the chats, we are grateful to have you in our community, and all of you who have submitted, and all of you who are here to support all of our authors. This was our last author to present. However, we did skip Raymond, so we can actually go back to his submission and read it. I'm going to restart. On this last page, it does show you where you can access all of the full works. If you click there, it should take you back to them. Okay. Sophie, are you still there?
I am here.
Would you like to do us the honor of reading Raymond's submission?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
Okay. Being well, having cancer. Cancer, the word, I often see people blink when it comes up, no matter who says it. I seldom say, I have cancer. It's much easier to say, I have an appointment with my oncologist. Things are going pretty well, and move on from there. Yet I don't want to feel guilty or hidden about having this disease. There's so much more freedom for understanding when people are politely open about it. It's a vulnerability that doesn't need drama.
Perfect. Thank you, Sophie. I really wish Raymond were here to maybe elaborate a little more on his writing, but I think it is pretty clear to see what he meant by that. His full text is in the folder with everybody else's if you wanted to read a little bit more. These are all just excerpts of our wonderful texts that our members have submitted. So you guys are all welcome to read the full text of everybody's writings at the end. The full size picture that Donna submitted is also in there. I believe Tracy's photo is in there as well. I can definitely follow up with everybody. Everyone who presented and was here today will get a copy of this presentation so you guys can have it. It has been recorded, so you can always revisit and listen to the authors read their excerpts themselves as well. I think that concludes our event for tonight. I want to thank you guys all for joining us today. Thank you all for submitting, everyone who's submitted and written and taken the time out to be with us today. We really appreciate you. I'm going to stop the recording now. If I could figure out how to stop.